Hey, how we doing there, guys and gals? I hope you're having an awesome day today. Welcome back. Now I'm running a pretty fast machine here. This is perhaps one of the fastest motorcycles you can buy that's road legal. At least you can buy it for the time being. Now if you don't know what this motorcycle is, you probably do, but if you don't, I'll have a video linked up there in the top corner for you so you know exactly what this machine is. It is one of the most powerful and it's one of the fastest machines in the world. But how much power do you really need? I mean, you know, this is a bit over the top, I think. But anyway, that's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's video. How much power do you really need on a motorcycle? Let's get to it. Alright, let's mount her up. Let's get her started. Because she's not only one of the fastest and one of the most powerful, she's also one of the bloody loudest. No, I'm sure there are louder motorcycles out there than this. I decided to sit in the shade because it's quite a warm day today. When you're out in the sun, it does beat down on you quite hard today. So, which I have to say makes a nice change. It's been quite cold. I'm filming this video in July, and it's been quite cold for the most of July, for the majority of it. Oh, bloody hell. That is just insane, those potholes. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, I was kind of alluding to it, but this is obviously a ZZR 1400. It seems that most of my audience for this channel are big fans of the ZZR 1400. Or ZX14R as it's known elsewhere in the world. Now I do want to make one thing clear about one of the last videos that I did about clutchless shifting. A few of you didn't like that video, which is quite interesting because when you look at most other people's content or when you research it, for the most part clutchless shifting is quite safe. So I mean, of course, if you do it wrong, then it is going to add extra wear onto your gearbox and what have you, but for the most part it's fine. But then again, that's why you have the clutch. You know, you have the clutch there for a reason. I completely agree with that. The clutch is there for a reason, so why not use it? Well, there you go. But it's up to you. In my experience, it's been pretty safe doing clutchless shifting on all the motorcycles I've had. So, you know, don't worry about it if you do it a few times. But if you have an older or a more worn-out motorcycle, then, you know, maybe that's the time to stop doing it. But anyway, let's go on to the actual subject of today's video. How much power do you really need? For those of you that don't know, this motorcycle has 158 Newton meters of torque and 210 horsepower. That's quite a lot for a motorcycle. It's not the most, but it is up there. I think for torque, this is, I think, the most amount of torque you can get on a motorcycle. I think the next in line is, of course, Suzuki's Hayabusa, with I think it's like 146 Newton meters of torque, or 145. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's a pretty fast machine, and if I'm being completely honest, no, for most people, you will not need this kind of power. And it's kind of an obvious point to make, is you don't need 200 horsepower. But that's not the reason why you buy it. Like, you see people buying Ferraris and McLarens and Paganis, and I mean that's an extreme example, but even cars like Ford Focus STs, Audi TT RSs, you don't need those kinds of cars. Of course you don't. Because we don't buy them because we want to be sensible with them, you know? I think if you're going to buy a car or a motorcycle like this, then, well, and not have a bit of fun in it, well, you've kind of wasted your money. there's no point in having one of these things if you can't open the taps every once in a while. And you're going to. If you know what you're buying, that's exactly what you're going to do. You are going to have a bit of fun in it. And you might get a few speeding tickets along the way. But that doesn't matter to you. The thing that matters is having fun. Woo-hoo-hoo! And this thing has buckets of fun, man. Oh, like just to experience that horsepower, well, that torque, just that feeling of torque that you get on something like this is insane. It's nothing like it. And you know, yeah, okay, you might not buy a motorcycle like this for the power. There might be other reasons, like you might like the size of it, the weight of it. Maybe you want a sportier version of a Toro or something like that. You know, maybe you don't want to get a BMW K Series or a Goldwing or something. You want something a bit a bit sportier rather, a bit more torquey, a bit more horsepower. You know, something you have a bit more fun in. Well, this is what you're going to be looking at, something like this or the Hayabusa. Now, of course, if you're looking a bit more classical, then maybe even a Blackbird. I'll tell you what, I was looking around because I'm looking to buy a new motorcycle in the near future, but I won't talk about that too much. That's a bit of a surprise for everybody, including myself. But yeah, I was looking at motorcycles and I did see a few Blackbirds for sale around this part of the country, the UK that is. And oh, they're gorgeous looking bikes, man. Honestly, if I was 10 years younger, or sorry, if I was 10 years older, rather, should I say, and I lived in the late 90s to early 2000s, had my motorcycle license, I would get one of those in a heartbeat. Yeah, they're nice looking bikes. But again, it's another example of power that you don't really need. And a lot of it is quite subjective. So I feel like I don't need this kind of power, but I want it. I want that kind of power. I like using it, you know? I like the feeling, I like the adrenaline, I like that sense of fear, you know? Of how much power you've got in between your legs. And I'm sure a lot of you feel like that as well. The funny thing is that this also extends to 600cc sport bikes. They have a lot of power. Maybe a bit too much power, but they have a lot of power. They're stupidly quick. Again, I'm sure that a lot of you have ridden 600 sport bikes before and have probably come to the same conclusion. They're fast, man. They're bloody quick for what they are. You know, you think a 600cc sport bike would not be able to keep up with something like this, but you'd be surprised. For the first 100 mile an hour, it might do. It might be able to keep up with something like this. But it's after that point where it's going to start pulling away from you if you're on a 600. You know, you get to maybe 80, 90, 100 mile an hour or so. When you start getting to those kinds of speeds, that's when the larger engine capacities come into play a bit more, because you got more wind resistance and all that stuff, and the power of the engine then has a lot more say in how fast you go or how quickly you can get there. But yeah, so you'll get people that, depending on their environment, maybe they're city riders or something like that, and they'll ride 125s or even 200s, 250s. And for some people that is perfectly adequate, and that is the right amount of power for them. You know, you don't want to lug around this big beast around in a city. You're just not going to want to do that. You're going to want to ride it in these kinds of roads. You know, where you've got a bit of freedom, a bit of, you know, a bit less clutch control happening, you know. Because these bikes have got quite heavy clutches. And yeah, so it is a very, very subjective thing, and the concluding part of this video, I think, is going to be a good moderate estimate of the correct amount of power. Again, it's just my opinion based on my experiences, and you're probably going to agree with me if I'm being perfectly honest, because I'm being sensible here. A bike like this isn't sensible. A 600cc sport bike is not sensible. A Fireblade is not sensible. An R1, a ZX-10R, a GXO 1000, they're not sensible machines. Because you don't need it. You don't need those kinds of numbers. You don't need all that power. You really don't. For everyday riding, for commuting and stuff like that, you don't need it. And hey, look, I commute with this bike to work. I commute with my CBR 600RR. I commute with all of my bikes. I commute to work, and you know, and I have a great time on it. If I'm being completely honest to myself and to you guys, and girls of course, if I'm being honest, they don't make great commuters. They're absolutely fantastic bikes, you can have so much fun on them, and I suppose fun factor on a commute really does make the commute just that, you know, that little bit more exciting. You know, you look forward to get out on it to go to work, you know. I know that's the way I feel. If I ever have to go into the office to work, I look forward to getting one of the bikes out. Doesn't matter which one it is, I love them all. But they don't make the best commuters. And again, kind of the commuting quality of a motorcycle and the power aspects of a motorcycle kind of go hand in hand here. So yeah, again, like I keep saying, it's a very subjective, you know, very subjective topic. You're going to get some massive guys that are quite comfortable on a ZZR 1400 and they think it's the perfect commuter bike, and hey, you guys aren't wrong. I absolutely love this thing for commuting, and there's nothing better rocking up to your office with those loud exhausts, those Krapovich exhausts, just showing up and revving your engine. Everyone in the office knows it's you, everyone knows you've arrived, and everyone wants to have a look at it. Because these kinds of bikes draw a lot of attention. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling. But anyway, let's get back on topic here. So the ride itself, the commute itself, you will find bikes like these to be not good commuters if you've ridden a large number of motorcycles, and maybe not even that. If you've ridden 5 motorcycles throughout your life, then you probably know what make good commuters and what don't. Now, I'm not even going to say cruisers here. Cruisers I don't think make good commuters. Bearing in mind I have not ridden one. I fully intend to in the future. Don't you worry. I want to enlighten myself. However, looking at the ergonomics of a cruiser, I think the seating position is great because you're kind of lounging in the seat, and your foot position is great because you can just extend your legs. Great, fantastic. I think all that is great. The thing that I'm not so sure about is the reach for the handlebars. Now, I get that there are some modified handlebars that are extremely high, and you're almost doing like the YMCA dance on a cruiser, trying to get your hands to reach the handlebars. But I don't see that being overly comfortable. I don't know. Hey, you guys that ride cruisers, hit me up in the comments. You tell me exactly how I'm wrong there, okay? I want to be wrong on that one because I fucking love cruisers. Excuse me. I love cruisers. I love the look of them, and I'm sure later on in my life I'm going to want to buy a cruiser. Just a lazy boy, I'm sure I'm going to want that. But that's just my initial impression of them. But cruisers I don't think make good commuters, at least for now. For now, I don't think they make good commuters. As I said, sport bikes I don't think make good commuters. Tourers I also do not think they make good commuters. Mainly because, again, you're trying to carry around a heavy bike, and if you have to go through any sort of town or village or any kind of dense traffic, then it could give you a few problems, and you might not enjoy the experience so much. Like, look, I'm just about to head into a town now, and I'm already kind of dreading having to do the whole start, stop, slow traffic thing. Also, things like adventure bikes might not make great commuters, mainly again because of their weight. Even though they don't have, you know, crazy power numbers or anything, they are quite torquey though. So there's something you have to keep in mind, is the torque, the torques. Traffic's bad now. The power. What was I saying? Oh yeah, adventure bikes I don't think would make good commuters, and even dual sports dirt bikes, they're not so bad. I think you could definitely get away with riding those quite comfortably, but I would say that they lack some power for the most part. So anyway, I think I've led you guys on long enough. I think, in my own personal opinion, that the best commuter bikes are motorcycles that have around about the 70 to 80 horsepower range and about 50 to 60 newton meters of torque. Was that foot-pounds? Maybe foot-pounds. But something around the 70 horsepower range, and there's a few reasons why. When I got my full license and I was looking to buy my first big bike, the first bike that I landed on was a Kawasaki ER6. It was from 2008, and I bought it. It was either 2009 or 2010. I can't remember, but it was only a couple of years old. But I absolutely love that machine, and it's quite funny because they're quite cheap bikes to buy. They're not expensive bikes. But they had the perfect amount of horsepower for someone who had just started getting into riding. And I know, like I've said in the past, that, you know, if your riding experience is 2 to 3 years or something, to look at something maybe in the 50 to 70 horsepower range, but you can quite easily get on something like an ER6. Those kinds of bikes, they had 2 cylinders. I think it was a parallel twin on the ER6, and yeah, it produced about 72 horsepower or 73 horsepower. I think that generation was 2006. I think was that generation, and it was either, I can't remember, it was either like 60 something foot-pounds of torque or 60 something newton meters. I can't remember. I'll put it up on the screen for you, so for my own peace of mind, I suppose, as well, but to make sure that I try and give you guys the most correct information. And yeah, that bike was really good. Somehow I landed on a really, really good motorcycle, a good all-rounder. You know, it wasn't short on power. It had good enough amounts of power, I think. Man, what's going on? This traffic is bad. They didn't indicate. Oh man, traffic is poor. roadworks around here for ages. It's like years they've had these roadworks here for now. Big girl coming through. Woo! Big girl coming through. Oh, there isn't really much room here to filter. People. Thank you. Should make out of this traffic soon. Fingers crossed. Road quality here is bad as well, damn it. Oof. Need an adventure bike for this. It's almost like being on dirt roads. Would you call this lane splitting? I mean, the traffic's moving ever so slightly. I'd call it filtering because the traffic up ahead isn't moving. That's what I'd call it. Whatever. See what's going on. They've cut a lane off. Oh wow, okay. No wonder it's shit round here. Oh, right, sorry about that. Bloody hell. That traffic was awful today. Anyway, I was talking about my Audi R6 here when I first started riding. I got a Kawasaki R6. I'm not sure why. I was just drawn to that bike and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I landed on a bit of a diamond because it turns out that that class of motorcycle is almost perfect in every way. They're not overly heavy. They don't have stupid amounts of power that you don't need or can't use. By the way, an ER6 is a 650cc twin cylinder, by the way, just in case you didn't know. And yeah, it had a really comfortable seating position, really neutral seating position. The seat was incredibly comfy. And it was a fantastic bike. I had that motorcycle for nearly 10 years. Almost rode it every single year for 10 years. And the same can be said for bikes like a Yamaha MT-07 or a Kawasaki Z650. Those kinds of bikes are all in that class. An MT-07 has a little bit more displacement than something like the R6. However, it's got a little bit more torque, it's got a little bit more horsepower, so you know, in theory you can have a little bit more fun with it. But again, it's a twin cylinder engine. Interestingly enough, an MT-07 is a motorcycle I want to get one day. And again, it might be my long-term commuter when I come to change over the CBR 600RR. But yeah, something like an MT-07, an ER6, Z650, kind of, or an SV650 as well from Suzuki. That's another very, very good offering. I know that Honda have got a motorcycle in that class as well, but I can't remember what it is. Is it a Hornet? Oh, I can't remember. They might all look different, but they are very similar class of motorcycles. They're more comfortable, they're very easy going, and I'd say very, very good for first big bikes, you know, after you get your full license. Something like that is a really, really good option for a first bike. However, one thing that you might find with them after you've been riding for a little while with it, they might start to get a bit boring. I know I felt that way about my ER6. I was just bored of it, and I ended up letting it go. But I would say that even though I have more fun on something like this, the ZZR 1400, or even the CBR 600 RR from Honda, I would say that the ER6 was a more comfortable bike. And if I was going to do long tours on it, or if I was going to do massively long tours on a motorcycle, you know, go to Scotland and back or something, I'd want the ER6. I don't think I'd want this bike for a massive tour. But again, that's just completely my opinion, and I'm sure that your experiences might you know, forge slightly different opinions than mine. I'm not sure, but they're safe bikes. If you are out in the market for your first big bike, then don't get sport bikes. Like, I know that sport bikes are appealing, and I know that they're, you know, they look good and they've got power and all that stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend you get one just for the looks or the power, because yeah, those things are great, and you're probably going to want those things a little bit later on in your career when you've had a chance to ride some middle of the line, middle range stuff, you know, mid-range stuff. That's probably when you're going to start looking elsewhere and experiment a little bit. But I don't want anyone to buy something like an R1 and, you know, just scare the living daylights out of you just because of the power. It is certainly one of those things you become accustomed to over time. And bikes like an MT-07 or an ER6 will teach you throttle control. Like, you're not going to get crazy amounts of power out of one of them, so you don't have to worry so much. But there's enough power in there to scare you if you make a mistake. And the thing is, if you apply that same amount of throttle force to a bike like this or a Fireblade, that could end your life. Yeah, you can have so much fun on bikes like this with some serious horsepower, some serious torque. Oh, it is amazing, and I'm sure that all of you will agree with me that it doesn't matter if you're a little less comfortable on a bike like this. It's worth it. You know, it's worth it. But anyway, thanks for watching there, guys and girls. I'm going to end the video around about here, I think. So yeah, bikes that have the perfect amount of horsepower, around about 70 to 80 horsepower, and a little bit less than that for torque. And yeah, you're going to have a wicked time on them, and you will not regret buying a bike like that for sure. But yeah, let me know what what you think in the comments. Have I been a bit too safe there? Do you think maybe something like a Suzuki Bandit might be a little bit more your thing? Was it a 650 Suzuki Bandit, 100 horsepower or so? Let me know what you think in the comments. But yeah, make sure to like, share and subscribe. I can't emphasize that enough. Those of you that have subscribed over the last week, thank you ever so much. We really appreciate your support and your feedback, of course. But as I mentioned earlier in that video that got a few dislikes on the clutchless shifting one, I understood that you guys weren't so keen on that video. Well, there you go, now I've learned, hey? So yeah, thank you for your feedback and thank you for your continued support. Hopefully the next week or two we'll break 100 subscribers, and that will be one massive milestone. So I might have a surprise in store for everyone. Who knows? We'll see what happens, because I've got a wedding to pay for in the next 3 weeks, or to pay off fully. So I don't have that much disposable income going around at the moment, as you might expect. But yeah, I'm going to try and do a 100 subscriber special. I'll see what I can manage, what I can cook up. But yeah, thank you ever so much guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your feedback as usual. And as always, ride safe, but ride hard. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Ah! Woo! Holy shit! Oh, it's